The Vietnam War is testament to the depths of darkness humanity can plummet to, as both sides unleashed a wave of unspeakable horrors that still haunts our collective consciousness to this day. In this video, we will explore the depths of depravity that shaped this tragic conflict. If you have a weak heart, you should look away, as we'll be exploring the nightmarish punishments inflicted upon victims by the Vietcong and the US soldiers. These events happened in a timeline spanning 1964 to 1973. Captured American soldiers were subjected to unimaginable acts of brutality, with their captors refusing to acknowledge their status as prisoners of war, deeming them instead as outlaws in an undeclared war. These so-called outlaws became the victim of merciless and brutal tortures to extract confession about military intelligence, and sometimes even staged propaganda. During the Vietnam War, they had a grim routine, a timetable with frequent and savage beatings in the itinerary that often proved fatal for prisoners. The Vietcong were brutal in their pursuit of intel, had a creative and sick repertoire of cruel and inhumane torture techniques, with waterboarding standing as a particularly heinous method employed to make these soldiers speak up and acquire intelligence from captured American soldiers. These methods were undeniably chilling, designed to break the most highly trained individuals and make them succumb by carrying out unspeakable acts imposed upon them. Prolonged periods of isolation, abysmal living conditions, and deprivation of basic sustenance were among the myriad of ways in which the Vietcong methodically manipulated the mental and physical well-being of their unfortunate captives. One of the most notable incidents is that of the escape attempt of Navy Lieutenant Commander Red McDaniel. It was a one-shot only, and the brutal treatment he suffered has been carved in the history, which includes over 700 lashes and electric shocks, showing the barbaric reprisals faced by all prisoners regardless of their contribution. During that era, both Vietnamese and American soldiers were ruthless. They were accused of numerous war crimes committed by the US Army. The infamous My Lai massacre was an incident where around 500 innocent civilians were massacred for no apparent reason. Lieutenant William Cawley, who was the main figure in the massacre, only received an inadequate punishment of only serving 4 years in the comfort of his apartment. The Vietcong conducted atrocities by systematically murdering men, women, and children in their attacks on villages to undermine the South Vietnamese government's ability to protect its people. This was to strike fear in the hearts of the masses. American soldiers in the war zone and as prisoners showed remarkable resistance and lived through unspeakable suffering until their spirits were shattered and were beaten to submission. The Vietnamese captors established the infamous Alcatraz prison to make sure that they crush every last bit of remaining hope. Escape attempts made by Lieutenant George Coker and Captain George McKnight were swiftly crushed, leading to brutal confinements in the Alcatraz. The prisoners sent to this prison were subjected to solitary confinement in coffin-sized cells for 15 hours a day. But after the escape attempt of Captain John Driamacy and Captain Edwin Atterbury resulted in intensified brutality. The Vietcong's massacre included mortar attacks, mine placements, and indiscriminate bombings, resulting in the deaths of over 1,500 South Vietnamese civilians every month. Between 1964 and 1971, an estimated 30,062 civilians and political officials lost their lives and 45,500 were kidnapped in Vietnam. The Battle of Hue, which lasted 26 days starting from January 31, 1968, witnessed one of the most horrific massacres by the Vietcong. People who lived in Hue faced meaningless suffering as the Vietcong soldiers executed anyone they considered an enemy, spy, traitor, or unsupportive of their cause. The victims could be children, women, teachers, American civilians, and religious leaders. Journalist Don Oberdorfer had kept accounts from survivors, a record of the tragic fates of innocent people like Pham Van Thuong and his family who were shot and displayed publicly simply due to their association with the government office. The region of Hue uncovered numerous mass graves over months, displaying signs of torture, beatings, and even live burials. Alongside the battle, the American use of Agent Orange, a highly toxic herbicide, caused devastation to the environment and inflicted lasting physical and psychological effects on civilians and prisoners of war, with an estimated 6,000 fatalities. Operation Ranch Hand, authorized by President John F. Kennedy, carried out approximately 6,000 missions using Agent Orange, concealing its harmful effects on the land's inhabitants. The devastating consequences included birth deformities, severe illnesses, and damage to vegetation. Around 4.8 million Vietnamese were exposed, leading to diseases such as lymphoma, leukemia, and congenital malformations. Over the past 3 decades, approximately 150,000 children have been born with Agent Orange-related conditions, with at least 20,000 deaths recorded. U.S. soldiers also suffered exposure, with over 1,000 cases reported. Despite moral judgments, Vietnam had an estimated 71,000 sex workers, known as ladies of sin, a common occurrence during times of war when soldiers sought companionship and entertainment. During the Vietnam War, there were numerous involving American soldiers engaging in non-consensual encounters, infections, and unacknowledged children with young women from the surrounding areas. An estimated 300,000 women worked in the sex trade throughout the country, often found in bars visited by American soldiers and Vietnamese civilians. Additionally, soldiers took advantage of maids, laundresses, cooks, and other women who performed work for them, some with consent but many others forced. The Vietnam War witnessed extreme measures from both the Vietcong and U.S. soldiers, including torture and punishment, leaving lasting impacts on the lives of those involved, their families, and Vietnam as a whole. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and we'll be back with a more depressing history that shaped our society. Have a good day.